Have you ever wanted to learn Tai Chi, but you have absolutely no idea where to start? Then stick with this video till the end because you're going to discover how to cut years off your learning curve. Hi, I'm Dr. Symeon Rodger, and I've been teaching Tai Chi and Qigong for over 20 years and been studying them for 40 years. So stick around because I've seen what helps people make progress and what leads them to quit. Okay, so let's dive right into it. The first obvious question is, what is Tai Chi anyway? Well, let's not sugarcoat it, okay? Tai Chi was devised as a martial art, yes, as a form of combat. And no, I know when you see people doing soft movements in the park together in a group and they're like this, and you think you're watching paint dry and you think, how can that be a fighting system? Yeah, I understand totally, obviously. But when you see, the fast form of a Tai Chi set done, then you realize, oh, okay, got it, combat. Now, despite that, of the tens of millions of people who practice Tai Chi worldwide all the time, only a tiny fraction are actually using it as a martial art. Almost everybody, including that small fraction using it as a martial art, everybody is using it as a health exercise. So fundamentally what that means is they're using Tai Chi as a form of Qigong, or energy work. Because Tai Chi and Qigong share the same lineage. They share the fundamental principles of Taoist energy work. So with that in mind, you know that you want to practice Tai Chi, you've heard about health benefits. Tai Chi obviously reduces all the biomarkers of stress, makes the body very strong, especially the lower body, which is incredibly important for aging well, for lifespan and health span, correlates very well with lifespan and health span. So you want a strong lower body protected against falls with really good balance. If you want that, then Tai Chi is your number one go-to. Really good at that. And your use of energy, your body's entire system will run more effectively, more smoothly because of Tai Chi practice. As long as you're doing it regularly and as long as you're doing it well, or the right way, so to speak, there we go. So you're in for a real treat. Now the big question then becomes, if you're brand new to Tai Chi or you have very little exposure and you're thinking, I really would like to learn more or learn something, and I need to find a teacher in a class. Finding a local teacher in a local class is a great idea. And that's actually why we're here today. So I can kind of help you through that. Yes, we do things online for people to help them really expand their knowledge of Tai Chi, but really learning some Tai Chi first is a really good idea. So how do you do that? Well, you're going to run into one of two scenarios typically. One is a scenario where you've got a dedicated school, dedicated group of people who meet all the time. Maybe they meet every week or several times a week, and they do Tai Chi together. And they have a teacher, and there's no time limit on that. They just keep going. They're here now, they'll probably be here next year and the year after, etc. And they have a bunch of people there learning who are at different stages, so they have quite a range of experience. That's cool. If you can find that, that's kind of the number one go-to, right? If you can't find that, you might find something offered through, say, a local recreation center where you have somebody coming in and you'll be doing it at a recreation center, maybe a school gym, and it has a time limit. Maybe it's 6 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks or something like that. That's fine. That's okay too. Absolutely fine, because you have to start somewhere. And you have to face it, in big metropolitan areas, you probably have a lot of options. In smaller metropolitan areas, you have fewer options. In some towns or locations where you might happen to live, you may have very few options, right? So it's kind of you take what you can get. But anywhere is viable as a place to start. It doesn't matter which of those two scenarios it is. If you don't know very much, start. It's really good. It's going to be great. Now, you may be wondering, well, how do I evaluate the teacher? How do I know if this teacher is competent? How do I know what their depth of knowledge is, or how far they can take me on this journey, or et cetera, et cetera? Well, the truth is, if you haven't done Tai Chi before, you don't have any way of evaluating a lot of those markers. You really don't. But ask yourself this: does this person know more than I do? If yes, that's a good indication you might want to start there. You have to start somewhere. And if you can meet the person before you sign up, that's great. Just find out what they're like. Does this person set you at ease? Do they seem genuine? Do they seem unpretentious? Are they just willing to answer questions openly and honestly? If you get a good vibe from them, check mark. That's it. So don't worry too much about the venue or the teacher. Not yet. You have to start somewhere. Now, let's go on. So let's talk about styles of Tai Chi and Tai Chi forms. So what is a style of Tai Chi? Well, there are different styles or schools of Tai Chi. Typically, we refer to them as styles. There are 5 main styles of Tai Chi. You are not likely to encounter all 5. The first is the Yang style. I put Yang first, not because it's historically the first. It isn't. It's a derivative of the second one I'll talk about. But it's the most widespread. Your chances of coming into contact with Yang style first are pretty strong. Some variation of Yang style is what you'll probably run into. Yang features soft flowing movements, a relatively even tempo. It is accessible to people at all levels of health and fitness, basically. Then there's the Chen style, the original Tai Chi style from the Chen village. The Chen style is a little bit more athletic, you might say, more geared toward combat. It has all the features of a typical Tai Chi style. It does, though, even its slow form tends to be faster than the Yang form. So it is a little bit different, actually quite a bit different, and has different types of movement that you won't find in the Yang style, including coiling movements or snake-like movements referred to as silk reel, things like this. So Chen is a little bit different, but it is the original style. Yang style derived from it, as did Wu style. So the third one, Wu style, incorporates elements of Manchurian martial art and looks a lot like the Yang style, except that its kind of basic posture is a little different. So in the Yang style, whereas when I'm doing Tai Chi movement, my body is likely to be vertical, or more or less vertical. My upper body will be more or less perpendicular to the floor. In Wu style, I would typically be bending forward with a straight spine so that my spine and my rear leg are in alignment. So a little bit different body mechanics, right? So that's kind of the basics of the styles. Of the 4th and 5th style, the Sun style, for example, is the most recent. You probably won't find it. It's relatively rare. And the Wu Hao style, you also probably won't find. So you're really looking at Yang, Chen, and Wu style most of the time. Okay? Now, what is it that makes Tai Chi so exceptional? Why is a martial art? How did this martial art thing become such a health exercise? Well, primarily because it's called an internal martial art. That means that from a martial art perspective, it defeats its opponents by having vastly superior body mechanics, much more sensitivity to energy around it and that it comes in contact with, and through the use of qi or internal power. That's typically how it works. And that it's from that use of internal power, from those body mechanics, that the incredible health benefits derive. And you begin to learn these by learning a form. What is a form? So, every Tai Chi style has a form. In fact, typically a Tai Chi style will have 2 forms. The first form, and I'm simplifying a little bit for the sake of the video, the first form is the slow form. It goes quite slowly. The second form is the fast form and is more combat oriented. Most people worldwide who practice Tai Chi probably don't even practice or even know about their school's fast form. A lot of people don't. I've been exposed to Yang style fast form and to Chen style fast form, the original. The original fast form in Chen is called Pao Chui, meaning cannon fist. So that gives you some idea of its martial application. Yes, and if you see somebody doing it, you realize, yes, this really is a martial art. But all that said, it's imperative to learn the slow form first. Why is that? It's because you need to learn the form as a container, so to speak, and into that you'll be pouring a lot of energetic content over time with very specific focuses and practices. And to do that, you need to be moving very slowly for those energetic practices to really work. But there are even, not only health reasons, but even combat reasons for learning something slowly. For instance, you may think you have good balance, but Tai Chi is probably going to show you otherwise. You probably have crappy balance. How do you know? Well, the only way to know that you have balance is to do movements extremely excruciatingly slowly, because otherwise you use speed to compensate for your lack of balance. So you're going to be learning a form. More than likely, you'll be learning a form, and you want to learn a form. So a form is like a kata in martial arts, if you know the Japanese word kata for martial arts forms. So a form consists of different postures, and these postures are linked. So you move through them from one to the other. So you might be in a classic posture. I'll do the Yang style version here. This is called single whip. So as you move into single whip, you set, and there you're in it. That's final configuration for single whip. But the final configuration for the next posture, brush knee with twist step, looks like more or less like this. So how do you get from here to here? Well, you got to move, right? So you have to be able to go through the sequence of movements that gets you there. And I've sped that up quite radically for the sake of this video and the length of this video. You need to learn slow form. Now, what about the form's length? Well, the original forms, the old forms, are sometimes very long. The Yang style form originally for the New Yang school, the Yang Cheng Fu form, is 108 postures, right? Not all of those are unique. There's a bit of repetition. Now, you will be offered more than likely a shortened version of that in many cases. If you can learn the long form, great. If you're offered a short version, that's okay too. Some short versions are super short, like 8 postures, 10, 12. My personal opinion, if you can get to like 18 to 24 or more, you're better off. It gives you a bit more variety, a bit more to work with, but you have to start somewhere. So, you take what you can get. And even for myself, I do not practice the long forms in either Yang or Chen at the moment. For years, I've been only practicing the competition forms, which are a lower number of postures, more in the mid-20s, mid-30s range. So you want to be able to do that. You want to learn a posture. Now, when you learn a posture, you're going to learn it wrong. I know that sounds goofy, right? To tell you you're going to learn it wrong and it's not your teacher's fault. It's nobody's fault, not even yours. Nope. In fact, the Tai Chi master said this to me once, and he was absolutely right. Everybody does it wrong at the beginning. You cannot not do it wrong. It is impossible. Physically impossible. Whatever you learn, you're going to do it wrong. But don't worry, that's okay. Because the first thing you have to do when you're learning a form is put it into muscle memory. You learn the external movements in order and put it in muscle memory so you no longer have to think about it. And it's at that point you can begin using it to pour in the energetic content that does the magic. Okay, so here's what you want to do. When you're learning that form, you're going to learn mechanical movements, like literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. You have to learn the sequence, and you'll learn the sequence in a very external way, and that's okay. But while you're learning, here are a couple of tips to save you time and really help you. Make sure your foot placement is very definite. You do what your teacher says when it comes to placing your feet and distributing your weight between your legs. You might have 70% weight on your front leg, say, and 30 on the back, or you might have 60% on the front and 40 on the back. Do your best to approximate those. That will save you a lot of time. Be clear and definite with your foot placement. That's going to really, really help you. You want to be aware of the postural adjustments, the key postural adjustments you have to make before you are doing the form, so that when you're in the form, you are not moving outside of those postural adjustments. Because every posture in a Tai Chi form is nothing but a variation of the most basic Qigong posture, which is standing like a tree or embracing the tree. That is so fundamental. And that will really, really help you. That'll help your health benefits, help your stability, absolutely everything. That's where the magic begins. Okay? So you should now know about everything you need to know to begin doing Tai Chi. If you have any other questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments or contact me. If you got some value from this, please consider liking and subscribing. That really helps us get the message out to more people. I'm Dr. Symeon Rodger, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.